Now we're going to look a little bit more at working with modifiers in MaxScript. We've seen that you can create a modifier like this and apply it to an object like this. So here we've created a box with 20 height segments, and we've added a bend modifier with an angle of 90 degrees. I'm just going to delete that. Another way to create a modifier is like this. Max Modify mode takes you into the Modify panel, and then use Add Mod to Selection, and it will add the modifier to the selected object. So here I'm creating a sphere, causing it to be selected, and then using this method to apply the empty modifier, which is the attribute holder modifier. So let's try this. There's our sphere, there's our attribute holder. So I'm just going to delete that. Go back to this one again. Once you've created a modifier, you can access it in a number of ways. So I'll come back to the listener here. So $box01 .bend. And it comes back and tells me that it has this bend modifier named bend. I can access the angle. It comes back and tells me the angle is 90 degrees. I can set the angle. With equals 45, it's now 45. And of course I could animate this, as we'll see in just a minute. This does depend on the modifier having this as a unique name. If I added another bend modifier, which would also be named bend, one of those bend modifiers would not be accessible this way. So let's just try that. I'll just comment out this first line and evaluate this again. So that added a second bend modifier. So now we have one at 45 and one at 90. And I'll just Control D to erase all that and evaluate box 01 bend. And let's look at the angle. So it came back with the 90 degrees. If I do it again, it will consistently come back with the 90 degrees. So it's only finding the top bend on the stack. In order to be able to access all your modifiers, you want to give each modifier a unique name. So I'll just delete this. And then I'll create a bend modifier like this, giving it the name bend2. I'm also using a different variable here, which is also a good policy, so that I can continue to reference each one of these bends using its own variable. So I'll just hit the Enter key here. I've now created bend2. Now I need to apply that to the box. Add modifier, $box01 B2. There's bend2. Now if I look at the bend angle here, it's 45. If I look at bend2, it's 90. So let's just erase these so that we can get a better look at that. Bend2 is 90, and bend is 45. So I have separate access to those two because I use different names for them. There's also a modifiers array for the object. So box01 dot modifiers. And there you can see my two modifiers. It gives me both the type of modifier and also the name of the modifier. And I can access and set the modifiers through that array as well. So for example, box01 modifiers 1. That tells me there's a modifier there. Look at the angle. It's 90. And let's look at 2. it's 45. So this is a way to access the different modifiers even if they have the same names. You can access them through the modifiers array by number. You can also access them by name, by the way, if they have unique names. So I could put quote bend in there, and that comes back with 45. And I can put bend 2, and that comes back with 90. So let's take a look at animating a modifier. I'm just going to delete this. So here I'm creating a sphere, creating a box with 20 height segments, putting a bend on that box. Then in my animation loop, I give a random position to the sphere. I get a distance vector from the sphere to the box, and then I use trigonometry to determine a bend angle and direction that will make it look like the box is pointing at the sphere all the time. And this will work as long as these numbers are in this positive sector. So let's evaluate this. And that concludes this movie on animating modifiers.